Welcome to part one of our Best of 2022 special. Yes, it's in two parts for the first time because Fran and I hadn't seen each other in a while and we wanted to have a little catch up and have a bit of a chat about drinks at the beginning. So if that's your kind of thing, enjoy. What happens normally is that we pick our 10 favourite songs of the year to discuss. However, this year we've done something a little bit different and we've come up with 10 different categories that we've paired songs to. Fran's going to outline them near the beginning of the podcast, so I hope you enjoy.
Oh, hang on. Yeah, what are we calling this podcast?
Was it over underrated?
Over underrated. Sous-évalué. Überschätzt. Överunderskattad. Over underrated.
Welcome to a festive episode of Over Underrated. Is it festive or is it just the end of the year? It's something. It is I, Fran, and I'm with my co-host, Babs. How are you doing, Babs, in this cold December day?
Greetings, Fran. It is cold indeed in Belgium. We are heading towards negative temperatures, which is great. I saw 4 or 5 days with -4 next week. I cannot wait. But yeah, thankfully I have, I think, the last of the hipster beers that I recently bought to keep me company. I'm going to open it on mic. Very nice. And I will show you. It is from the Piggy Brewing Company, which is a French brewing company, and they've called it Milkshake IPA Coconut Series 2. So cheers.
Were you a big fan of Series 1?
You know, this was my first one. I went straight to the sequel. Oh, and that is really good because it's somehow beer and coconut, but it's not sickly sweet.
So, for bounties of beer?
Classier than a bounty. Maybe
Nothing is classier than a what?
Do you have Raffaello in the UK? I can't remember this.
No.
Right, Raffaello. You as a fan of sweets, you should absolutely check this out. It's an Italian chocolate, I think. It's white chocolate on the white chocolate coated with coconut on the outside, and then a sort of coconut cream filling. It is very nice and addictive.
I am drinking some sort of dry snaps with Dr. Pepper, which is my to-go-to podcast drink, obviously.
I think schnapps is a first for the podcast.
This is information people do not need to know.
No, this is what keeps our community together. This knowledge. But yeah, it is a special episode. It's the third time we're doing this. It is a best of episode this time around, and we have mixed it up even further. So in 2020 and in 2021, Fran and I just picked basically our top 10 songs of the year. But this time, Fran has added some categories.
Dun, dun.
Dun, dun, tell us about it.
So I thought, everyone's doing a straight top 10, so let's make it interesting and have some categories so we get an interesting, more diverse mix of music. So these aren't necessarily my top 10 songs of the year, although most of them did appear on my, say, top 50 list, apart from a emergency edition.
Which you'll get to.
So we have chosen these categories. We have solo artist, group, an unusual genre or an unexpected choice, a song not in English, a collaboration, a sync piece, so a track which is on a film or on TV or a game, a track you'd like to hear live, a brand new act from 2022, a rock track, and a international non-European group.
There we go. So yeah, I think similarly to you, Fran, it's not necessarily that these are my top 10. They all come from my long list, which was, I think, got to 65. Because, what was your process for making this? And I can then tell you.
I had a last minute panic because usually I have about 100 songs saved and I had about 4.
Because do you think it's because you've just not been listening to as much new music this year?
Yeah, maybe that. Yeah, it's strange. So I had some bands I saw at festivals, but apart from that, I've not really tried to discover much music. So I had a last minute panic of just going through lots of playlists, like the top albums on Metacritic, then going through Wikipedia to remind myself of what albums came out, and then listening to as much as I possibly
Didn't you
could.
just listen to like 500 songs or something to whittle it down?
Last year I work from home, so basically I had like 6 hours of music, and my tip is I mean, this is not great because it means you're going to miss out on a certain song, but I listen to the last minute of each song.
Oh my god.
If it's a builder, the best bit's going to be the last minute. So if the last minute's good, then there's a good chance that you're going to like the song. So with some songs, if I was getting a bit bored, I'd skip to the last minute, and if I like the last minute, there's a good chance that I'm going to like the whole thing. So that was my shortcut. And then then I went down to 100, and then I finished with 50 songs on my shortlist.
Mm-hmm. Which I guess if you give us money, we can share with you, but otherwise it's going to stay on your private Spotify. Mine was a totally different approach because I knew this was coming, right?
Yeah.
This is the third time we're doing it. So what I did was I went back over Tidal and Spotify to see what songs I had saved in 2022, because obviously if I'd saved them, they were, very likely from then. And then, I put together a long list, which kind of, it wasn't necessarily my 60 favorite songs, but it was just like one song from each artist that released a song in 2022. And then I did research some other artists to see if they'd released songs in 2022 and added them in. So though some of them I hadn't listened to kind of very long before making this playlist, I think I get a bit overwhelmed by those end of year lists. Lots of best album ones have come out. I was looking at The Quietus, for example, and it's like I like to skim through it and see the names. I've seen Jockstrap fucking everywhere. And I was like, I'd never heard of them before all these end of year lists. But I don't think I can handle your tactic of like going to listen to all these songs, because I'm just like, I'm already overwhelmed enough with music that I have, even if not all of the music that I'm listening to is from 2022. Like, I do feel actually maybe compared to previous years I listen to more new music, because maybe I'll get into it with one of my choices, but I just think I've discovered so much music from like videos, from like meme videos, or I'm not on TikTok, but people will put TikToks on Instagram and I'll Shazam it. That seems to be happening more and more and more. So given that I'm someone who doesn't really listen to the radio and doesn't really go to clubs, I think that is the easiest way for me to.
But I think with my tactic there, as you'll hear on my choices, a lot of them are going to be more pop orientated, because they're the ones that will pop out when you're skipping through lots of songs. A hook will get you in. A slower build, like I said, I probably might miss it, unfortunately.
Over underrated. Sous-évalué. Överschätzt. Överunderskattad. Over underrated.
So, track 1, best solo act. I have gone by Hate, by Loyal Kana. So, he's someone I've always dipped in and out of. I think he's really talented. I really like his voice. He did a song with K Tempest called Guts. I think I've mentioned before on the podcast, which is really good. But this song blew me away immediately. I think because it doesn't musically sound like something I would associate with him. It starts with these spooky vocals and drums, and these minimal piano chords come in, and then it's sort of rock, trip hop, and rap. That's difficult to say in one, with these incredible drums kind of keeping the beat going. And the lyrics are this kind of anthem to self-loathing and self-love, and they hit me straight away. He says, "Let me tell you what I hate. Everything I ate, everything I've done, everything I break. I fear love, religion, I feel drugs, the feeling. I fear us. Nearing the end, but I can't comprehend my fears. I feel the colour of my skin. I feel the colour that's within." It's just like, whoa. It really, I connected with it very quickly. And I just saw the music video for the first time before this record. Did you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's basically him in a car getting angry at literally himself, because it starts out just him in a car, but then lots of different Loyal Kanas turn up in the car and pushing him in all directions. So, yeah, it's one where I'm like, don't think Fran is going to like this, but I very much enjoyed it.
So I had never heard of the guy before.
Oh, really?
No.
Oh, I'm surprised.
The video-wise, I thought of, is this just like a Alanis Morissette, but a lot.
But you know what I thought? I thought, because we talked about Cardigans recently.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, my favourite, and I was like, oh, this is the best one since My Favourite Game or Calm Police.
It's also self-directed as well. So
yeah,
it's a talented visual guy as well. Yeah, so
he's very talented.
Yeah, never heard of him. I hate to say the word sick, but it has a sick beat, doesn't it, people? I'm a big fan of a live band hip-hop, like Roots, example, and there's a Jaws Holland live track which is worth watching.
Oh, okay, great. When I went back on, when you go back to the YouTube homepage and it immediately starts recommending you stuff, it recommended me a song of his a song of his where he's playing with an orchestra, and I'm like, hello, that sounds
Cool.
intriguing. Oh, I'm glad.
But yeah, it's got smart, interesting production. I love the looping, eerie backing vocals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like his anxious rapping style, and I liked it.
Aw.
Can you imagine that? And spoiler, this has made my top 50 tracks of the year.
Oh my god, it finally happened, people. I've got my hands in the air. I'm
You should
celebrating.
have chosen this song last.
What a shame, because I don't know what's going to come, but I know some of it's not going to be good. Oh, it's like, I mean, obviously, we never know with each other, right? Because I think we do wrong for each other. And I think because you hate Ghost Poet so much, and I feel like this isn't a million miles away, musically more than rapping style, I was like, ugh. But just, I love his voice. I love his voice.
There's also the production, the full production as well. Is what the drums that is brilliant, and the bass and the piano. It all works to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that helps me. Because the problem I have with like modern day hip hop is sometimes it's just like a dark loop
Mm-hmm.
and like a beat, and I kind of need more to grab onto. Obviously, because I'm not really a lyric guy as well, and that's kind of part of like the whole thing, isn't it? So with the fact that he does have the live band, it really does add to his production. So yeah, that's why I liked it.
Oh, that's
so
great.
yeah, I didn't know him at all, and turns out he's quite a big guy, quite a big name.
Yeah, no, like I said, because I'm, hip hop isn't my number one genre either. Even though I do think he straddles. I've kind of heard every album of his, and I've heard this one, and I think this one, Hugo, is my favorite of his. Even though there's maybe only one or two other songs that I would put on a similar par to this one, but it's I found it quite easy to listen to and get into.
Last year, Little Sims made it onto my top 50, and now I've got it's nice though, because I do miss being influenced to other genres, because I don't really listen to much hip hop really, so it's nice when I do get into something slightly different. So no, it's nice to expand your mind a little bit.
And I think that's the thing. This is why I was saying to you about the overwhelmingness of lists and streaming, where I think Loyal Kana is like, I would love to see him live, and he has come to Brussels, and I have missed him, unfortunately. So I hope he comes back. But it's someone where I'm like, until this song, I was like, I definitely like him. I will dip into him, but I'm not going to make the time to listen to him, like, because there's just so many other things out there. But yeah, he's definitely worth going to see live, and yeah, I'm really intrigued then to go and see the Jules Holland thing and the orchestra. Also, he's really fit, number one, and number two, he has ADHD as well, and he has set up an ADHD cooking school where he helps kids with ADHD learn to cook, because he says that he loves cooking, and it's a way that kind of gets out of his brain a little bit. So you've got to love him if you're neurodiverse. You've got to love him if you're neurodiverse. Did you hear me?
I don't know if Massive Attack are going to be producing anything new, but I think his vocal would suit
Definitely
a Massive Attack track definitely in the future. So if you're listening, Mushroom or 3D or...
Get in touch, guys. We'll hook you up.
So, is it my turn?
Yeah, I think you've picked a very little-known artist for your best solo.
This is what this podcast is about, isn't it? It's like it's getting people recognised on the bigger scale, So yeah, I had to choose a solo artist, and it was kind of hard because I do have quite a lot of solo artists. So
It was a difficult one.
I've chosen Taylor Swift, and yeah, she released Midnight. I think to a few people might have heard it, and I listened to the album. Just thought, well, when these big artists bring out albums, I always just think, okay, I'll put it on whilst doing something else, because that's out of curiosity, like Harry Styles, all these sort of things.
Well, Lizzo or Beyonce.
And then I thought, hang on, like I want like the fifth track, and I've liked every single one. This is surprising. And then it came on, and I think I got to track 9 before there's one I thought about skipping. Which is quite unusual for a first listen. So the hardest thing for me was to try and narrow it down to one song, because I think there's 3 or 4 tracks which I would give an 8 to a 9 out of 10. But this one, for some reason, I'm a sucker for like a simple bass line and a vocal melody, which sort of like builds. It's very atmospheric, and it's got melodies on melodies, and it kind of speaks to me. Like, I can imagine me being in an 80s rom-com running along an autumn road.
What are you wearing? What's your makeup situation?
Probably a trench coat, probably misfitting trousers, a tear in my left eye, and just running away or running to someone who's spoken my heart.
Maybe from one to the other.
The looks are quite hard. Like, one of the looks is, I hosted parties and starved my body, hoping to be saved by the perfect kiss.
Yes, there was the other song that she did. Was it
Anti-Hero, yeah.
Anti-Hero, where like she had an eating disorder and was very open about it. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me that that's a bit of a theme here as well.
So yeah, no, and I don't know this, but yeah, it does. I also like her sides, like "You're on your own, kid," which she does quite a lot in her canon. But yeah, and so I've literally just had it on maybe every day, and it's not, it's nothing new. It's not. She's not creating a new genre. It's very much Taylor Swift, but it just works. So I feel guilty. I shouldn't feel guilty because she works with great songwriters.
Don't feel guilty for supporting women, Fran.
Well, there you go. So it's quite melodic.
Yeah. So when I saw this, I was like, it's not a Fran best of if there isn't some combination of Jack Antonoff, Taylor Swift, or Bruce Springsteen, and we've got two here.
Yeah, I found out last night that they even did a duet version of Anti-Heroes now on Spotify.
There we go. So I hadn't listened to any Taylor Swift, not because there's one song where we will get to it. I was like, I'm not going to listen to this because I see Fran posting about it on social media, and I think it's going to be one of his top 10, and it was. So yeah.
But it almost could have been Snow on the Beach with Lana Del Rey, but I missed one in the end.
So unfortunately, Fran, I will pray. I do like how the song builds. That was the positive, and I quite like the ending. Not because it ends, but there are these kind of fire alarm synths going on, and it sounds like a completely different song to the rest of the song. I like, is the song after this a bit weirder and a bit darker? I was wondering, because unfortunately, from the beginning, I was annoyed. Her vocals really annoyed me. Like the texture of her voice, there's this kind of breathiness going on. But more than that, the na 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 na, I was like, oh, I guessed immediately it was Jack Antonoff. I was like, this exactly sounds like Jack Antonoff. Although there is another song on your list where I'm like, is this Jack Antonoff? Because it also sounds like that, and it's not. So I'm not always proved right. Unfortunately, I kind of couldn't get over that. And the "You're on your own, kid."
You're on your own, kid.
It's not that I'm cynical about Taylor Swift. Like, what do I think about Taylor Swift? It's a difficult one. Like, I did see. Have you seen Miss Americana, her Netflix documentary?
Yes.
Yeah, like I thought it gave me a very interesting insight into her life, and I empathized with her a bit more. But I was talking about this with one of my friends, where she's just this very kind of type A personality person, perfectionist, and it's just like, I just can't relate to that. I can't relate to her. And it's not necessarily that I feel that she's inauthentic, because she's not, like she is definitely someone writing about her experiences and writing very directly, and she clearly connects with many other people. But I just, sometimes it's just a question of connection, right? Like Loyal Kana, I've got absolutely fuck all in common with him probably, but just the way that he spoke and sang, it just immediately I was like, I'm in. But with Taylor Swift, there are very few songs where it makes me feel connected to her and like I'm living life through her, unfortunately.
I think Jake's very good at melodies, isn't he?
Yeah, and I mean, when I said Jack, I'm not saying it necessarily in a bad way. He did the latest St. Vincent album, and that was good, and I liked a couple of the songs that he did for Lord. But it is a very specific melodic pop sound, and that's not always my cup of tea.
I knew putting us on, but I was in the danger zone, but I thought I can't lie to myself.
The danger zone with Taylor Swift.
I think we could both have created 10 tracks aimed at each other, but I thought, no.
Oh, yeah. No, but I mean, it's like, I'm hoping you like, I don't know, at least 3 of my songs. I'm 1 for 1 so far, in any case. But the thing is, like, it's like, even though she was on the list, it's like, I still liked listening to it and researching it. So it doesn't matter if I like it or not. I mean, because you haven't said to me, Barbara, please go and listen to all of Midnight's. I think maybe if you'd done that, I would have been annoyed. But if it's one song, yeah, that's fine.
Over underrated. Sous-évalué. Überschätzt. Överunderskattad.
We are going to the Netherlands for track 2, best group. So I've gone for Numbers Up by De Stad, which means the state in Dutch.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've mentioned them before. They are from Nijmegen, which is the same town our previous guest George lives in. And I think I discovered them through someone on God's Jukebox posting a cover version of Firestarter by their lead singer Tora Florim. And it's like, as far away from the original as you can imagine. There's like a woozy acoustic guitar. He sounds like a blues singer.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very good. And then it was one of those bands where like I went to check them out and kind of every single song I liked, I was like, this is great, this is great. And they're kind of, if you told me that they were Belgian, it wouldn't have surprised me. That they are that kind of end of experimental noise rock, but also synths. And yeah, I've been following them, I think, since a few years ago. But this year seems to have been a pretty good year for them because they've released these 3 EPs, Yellow, Red, and Blue. And this song, Numbers Up, is from their Yellow album. They've supported Biffy Clyro, and they've had Clipdrop of previous Sussex fame support them in the UK, which I'm like, it's very rare to see a non-English band being big enough to have an English support act. So clearly they're on the up, which is really great. But yeah, this song, I think I listened to it when the EP came out in February 2022. I liked it immediately. I think I like it because it's somehow both pop and catchy, but also synthily grimy and upsetting is what I've written. And there are these really unexpected changes. The drums come in and out and kind of mislead you. You think the song's going in one direction and it's not. And when I was trying to think, like, how the hell am I going to define them? Let's go and find what someone else has said. So I found this review from a website called Backseat Mafia talking about one of their live gigs. And he said, at one point I was thinking, is this funk? Is this metal? Is this dance? Well, you know what? Take Electric Six meets Talking Heads meets Rammstein, smash it all together, and bang, you have to start.
And yeah, I noticed that they played Glastonbury in 2010. So
Did they?
Yeah,
In 2010?
yeah, early on they had quite a lot of
Wow.
exposure. I think they did like the Great Escape Festival. I think they supported Muse as well.
I did not know
Yeah,
that.
on
Wow.
that tour, whatever 2010 was.
Wow, okay. Yeah, so I'm guessing if you did some research, you might have enjoyed it.
So yeah, so I did enjoy this and I did like it, and it has made my top 50 songs of the year.
I am shocked.
Let's end the
I am-
podcast.
Yeah, like, I'm worried what's coming next, I have to say. This could only end badly.
So yeah, I put down, this is an edgier hot chip sound. So
Okay, yeah.
Foles released an album this year, which I found disappointing, but I think this is the sound that Foles wanted to create, but by mistake they copied 1975, because it is the funky side, but with that heavier edge, which I think Foles wanted to do.
Foles are one of those bands that I would definitely, without knowing very much, would class as overrated, because I think they have a couple of good songs, but I feel like they're quite hyped and their fans are really into them. So it surprises me that you say that, because in my mind, Foles are still the people who did Cassius and My Number.
Now, so I didn't like the first album at all. And
I
then,
like Cassius.
and then by the third album, they brought in some more meatier guitars and some kind of unexpected sort of like twists, and it became quite interesting. And live, they're a very good live band. But half the band have quit,
Oh, wow.
so now down to 3. But yeah, I would sound they're semi overrated. But anyway, yeah, I enjoyed the song.
Oh, I'm glad.
So over to my second track, which again was hard for me to fit in.
It's very broad categories, but it was good in a way.
Yeah, so I had to keep swapping things around. So this wasn't my original group choice. So I have chosen Let's Eat Grandma, which is 2 ladies from Norfolk. This is where all the best music comes from in the UK.
Fact.
I've always kind of known this band. I think they got a song called Donnie Darko, and I always thought they're a little bit sixth form pop. I don't know how young they were when it first came out. I guess
I think they were like 16.
exactly. So yeah, it makes sense. So when I saw that they've been getting quite good reviews, I was like, oh really? So I gave this album a go, and it had 80s heavy synth styles, which I'm a big fan of, and some lovely harmonies. And I thought to myself, this is what The Weeknd would have loved to have released. I reckon, but didn't, because they got there first. And they've written a Happy New Year anthem, which I don't think will be played at many parties this Christmas, but hopefully it does.
So I love Let's Eat Grandma. I don't know if I've talked about them. I must have talked about them before. And so I was really happy when you put them on the list, because I was like, oh, I can talk about them in more detail. I was meant to see them. I had tickets to see them in Brussels, but they cancelled because of Brexit. And I really, really love their previous album, I'm All Ears, the one that has Donnie Darko on it, Hot Pink, Snakes and Ladders, etc. But they're one of those bands where it didn't gel with me straight away, because I think they had the song called Eat Shiitake Mushrooms, and I did get into it, but they have these quite girlish voices, and both of them do. And it was just, it's that thing of like, sometimes you're like, is it internal misogyny of like, someone sounding a bit like this is a bit annoying. I then kind of got over that because the music was so good, and I think you just get used to it. And yeah, so I'm All Ears took me a while to get into it, but then I got obsessed. Like, I think there's several songs on my 2021 Wrapped from it. Hot Pink especially was fantastic. And then, I saw that they were releasing new songs and I was really excited. And this was the first one that I heard and I was like, oh, this isn't as dark as their previous stuff. And yeah, I'm not sure about this. And I gave the album a go. I think I listened to it twice. I saved one song from it, Strange Conversations, but I was like, I think they've gone in a different direction and it's not so much me. However, having listened to this again today, I really enjoyed it this time because I think I've now had enough space from it that I'm not expecting a particular sound. So I heard it with New Year's and yeah, I really enjoyed it. It does have this kind of hands in the air sort of sense. But yeah, I really liked it this time around and I'm really looking forward to giving the album another go because I was just like, yeah, it so often happens when you're expecting something from the band and they don't deliver exactly that you don't like it.
Yeah, because I after listening to it, so I went back to listen to Donnie Darko and Hot Pink and I thought, yeah, the vocals were a bit too childish and twee, and I think. But
see, I don't find that on those songs.
Okay.
I think the album before, when they're literally, I think it's on that album they're like 19 or something.
Okay.
The album before this, I'm being very vague with ages. There I didn't mind it, but when they're very very young,
I think it would be a lovely track to play at the party, guys. Give it a go.
Yeah, and it's about friendship as well, which is really sweet. And I know that they had a horrible year because, yeah, you read right. One of their boyfriends died, and he was like 22 years old, and in the pandemic as well they were apart. So it's a really it is interesting that they had this kind of darker album. They've been through all these tough times but have come up with something much more triumphant this time around.
Well, it's a bit like New Order, making dance music after Joy Division. But yeah, I said the band were thinking of breaking up, so it's unexpected to even be released.
Yeah, I mean, despite what I thought about the album, I was like, I think I need to go and experience this music live to get an opinion on it. So I was so disappointed. I think, Charlie XCX also cancelled this year because she had a voice thing, and I'm like, okay, I've seen it before, don't mind so much. I think they were the gig that I was most devastated about because it's like, ugh.
Are they a full live band or is it just them? Do you know?
Well, one thing that I really recommend watching if you do like Let's See Grandma, they have a KXP set from 2018, and it's literally just the two of them and a drummer, and at one point one of them plays a saxophone. It's amazing.
I should give it a listen. So, moving on to your track 3. What's the theme?
Moving on to track 3. So we are different genre to what you normally like. So I have gone for Saoko by Rosalia. Before I start, how much do you know about Rosalia? Sorry, I'm being deliberately Spanish.
I did not know anything. I didn't know if she's Spanish or Portuguese.
She is Spanish.
There you go. I saw the video.
Yeah. We'll get into the video. But yeah, she is a kind of Spanish megastar, and yeah, I wanted to ask because I'm like, I feel like if you're in the Spanish speaking world or Portuguese speaking world, like of course you're going to know about her because she's huge, and even in America, like she's done songs with James Blake and The Weeknd and stuff like that. So she's pretty big.
In Spanish or
the James Blake one, she sings a bit in English. With The Weeknd, he sings in Spanish on a song on this album, La Fama. So there we go. I mean, the US obviously has a massive Spanish language music market, and there's a lot of crossover. But no, she is Spanish. She is from Catalonia, I think. So I have known about her for a while. She is, I think, one of the bigger acts in the world at the moment. She is coming to Brussels on Monday, and I'm umming and ahhing whether to go and see her because it's one of those, again, like one of those big stadium gigs, and I'm like, I feel like I might be missing out on something, but I don't really want to pay 50 euros for it. And I got really obsessed with her song Malamente a few years ago when it came out. But she's a bit like Grimes to me, that I talked about on the Mixtaping Identity podcast. Check it out. Where I get really obsessed with some of her songs, but ignore a lot of the others. I picked this because this definitely isn't a genre that I would normally like. And she is someone who absolutely genre bends in all sorts of directions. But I sent you a video that I asked you to watch, the one where she's on Genius talking about the lyrics. And right up the top, she says, I wrote this song because I really love reggaeton and I really love jazz. And most people who like one don't like the other. So deliberately, I wanted to like mix those two genres in one song. It's the opening to her Motomami album. And I think it's a genius song. Like it starts really minimally, just vocals and drums. Then this, I've written fat, PHAT bass comes in with a drum machine and she's rapping, and it's quite difficult to sing along to, like not just because she's singing in Spanish, but the way the beat that she's doing on top of the music I think is quite difficult. But then there's some kind of jazzy piano that wouldn't be out of place in a Dio song from the mid-90s. So she's throwing a lot into that. And when you go and watch the lyrics video, and she really, really, truly breaks it down what the song is about. And it's about kind of, transformation and change. And she talks about how she's using the butterfly because she's scared of butterflies, but it's something obviously that transforms. I think it's a very intriguing song, but I wonder whether you like it. But I do hope that you would maybe like the music video, because my notes for that is for fans of butts and babes on motorbikes.
I put on here some nice bums, nice hats, and some lovely bikes.
Well, there we go.
But I swear she's saying puppy, because it keeps cutting to a dog as well. But when I read the lyrics, nothing to do with puppies there. So I don't know why it keeps cutting to a puppy. There's some nasty swear words, guys, and she didn't mention that at all. I'm surprised she's that popular, because I thought it was quite
massive,
edgy and sweary and stuff. But
yeah, she was a flamenco artist, right? So she was really into flamenco, and that's how she started. But she moved to, I think, LA deliberately because she was also into other music. Like in her previous album, she kind of sampled Cry Me a River by Justin Timberlake in Spanish, and people keep talking about how she's an incredible producer as well. Like she does a lot of the production, and I think she's supremely talented and a very good looking woman too. Some people they just have it all.
So yeah, I put down the same as you. It's got a dangerous bass line, some fat beats with a Z on the beats there.
Oh, very good.
But I felt like it's probably a bit too cool for me. In fact, like, this is not a world I can go, hi guys! No? Okay. I wouldn't even make the sidecar on the bike, sadly.
You wouldn't be the cat ears on the helmet?
No, I don't think I could pull it off. I'd just be the mouse in the corner. But yeah, I hear what you mean, but it's got that after 3 minutes it has that jazz break, and then it sort of comes in and she keeps repeating the same phrase, which is fuck something.
Puede parar. I've just realised that, it's can't stop, I think is what she's saying.
Yeah. But yeah, I put down interesting video, interesting production. I would probably not listen to it again, though.
Yeah. I'm not surprised.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's a lot of people who are very passionate about Rosalia, and like I said, I don't really think there's anyone like her, especially because she's not Latin American, she's Spanish. And some people are a bit like, blah, cultural appropriation, because she, reggaeton is from Puerto Rico and those areas, but I don't know. I want to be positive about it because I quite like her. I'm just like, she is just kind of taking music from everywhere, and she's in the video that I sent you, she's very passionate about, like, this is an ode to these people who are geniuses. So I don't know, for me, I haven't really looked into it very much, but I really like her music. Well, I really like some of her songs a lot, and
for me it is all about the music. So speaking of music, so I chose an act who I fucking hate.
I am so surprised you picked this band.
When Enter Shikari, who we're going to talk about, came out in 2006, 7. Yeah, we all called them Enter Shikari as a hilarious pet name, because they were mixing like annoying like computer game effects with new metal, and it was all a bit like it's hyper annoying, and occasionally they would cross my streams, and I'd be they're still around, they're still fucking horrible.
I don't think I've seen a band elicit this response in you.
So yeah, they are one of my pet hates. So when I was listening to a playlist and I didn't know what was playing, and I went to go and like it, I was not happy to see the words Enter Shikari. But this is it, because he doesn't bloody sing at all virtually in the song. It's all the guest vocalist, which is Cody Frost. So that's why I think I liked it, because he's hiding away in the corner. And also their production has changed over the past 15 years, but obviously it was going to. They're not going to be that hyper annoying band, I think Cody's got a great voice. It's got like rocky sections and drum and bass sections sort of mix over, which I enjoy. It's got a strong chorus, and it made me shake around the lounge. And yeah, I had to fight my feelings and put there. Yeah, go. Yeah, I like it. Fuck it, I like it.
Yeah, I didn't realise that your feelings were so strong. I think I ignored them a little bit because I was like, oh, this isn't my kind of rock, right? Even though now I like it would be my kind of rock. But I saw them in Luxembourg in 2010, well, it would have been 2010, 2011, because when I lived in Luxembourg as an adult, I was much more adventurous in the kinds of bands who I would go and see because there was just less choice.
Yeah.
So I was like, Enter Shikari, why not? And they were fucking great. They were really, really great. And my highlight from that show was a song called Kel Surprise, which maybe I'll send to you afterwards, which he goes, Kel fucking Surprise, you know, in that kind of accent as well. But it has this great chorus where he's saying, if you stand for nothing, you will fall for everything. And just when you're watching that live, very good.
Are they still like quite big then?
I don't think so, because
No?
when I went to look at the views this video had, it was like 150,000, and I was like, oh, I feel like they would be cult enough to have a bit more than that, if that makes sense. Although I guess it only came out this year, so maybe I'm being a bit
I did
unfair.
quite. So they brought out also this year a track with Wargasm called
Right.
"The Void Stares Back," which I also quite enjoyed as well. It's a bit more shouty. It's a bit more what you expect. So yeah, it turns out I've become a fan.
Yeah. But just to say, so even though I enjoyed them live, and I really like that song, and I listen to that song every now and again, I think anytime I tried to dip into that back catalogue beyond that song, I was like, this
No.
is not for me, right? But when I heard this song, so the way it started, I was like, what is this? Enter Shikari? I thought it was more like Bring Me the Horizon or something like that, you know, like a band that was more classically rock that's now bringing in some synths. But just like there's so many genres going on, because there's like metal guitars, but there's also acoustic guitars in this kind of quiet moment. There's synths. There's these drum and bass drums. Weird time signature going on, and the way Rue and Cody's voices come in and out. Again, you're never expecting it. They go really well together, and I fucking love this song. I thought it was amazing, and I feel like I can't wait to get to know it. You know, when a song is so difficult to get your head around that you're like, okay, I can't sing along to this song, right? Like I need several listens. Like I've listened to it 3 or 4 times now, and I'm like, still loving it. Still have no idea what's going on, who's coming in or what. So thank you very much, Fran. This was one of my favourites.
Did you check out, because Cody doesn't have much of a profile either, so it's kind of strange how she's
what
on
I
there.
saw was an Enemy interview where she's like, it was amazing that they reached out to me. I have one of their songs tattooed on my hand, which I was like, oh, that's amazing. That's so sweet. And yeah, they were just very positive about her. Like, yeah, like we thought they would be good. And when you watch the music video as well, which is quite entertaining, you saw that as well. The guy, a very angry gentleman with some bull horns, getting angry with Cody in the sort of greasy calf that the band are also working at. I was thinking, like, have I ever seen a band play a gig in a greasy calf? I don't think so. In a music video.
I can't say I've seen that.
I don't know. There seems to be like a chemistry there or something. I loved it.
Well, I am shocked.
No. This is up my street.
Over underrated. Sous-évalué. Överschätzt. Överunderskattad. Over underrated.
Okay, so track 4.
But I don't think the next one is up your street. I'm fully prepared. So track 4 is favourite non-English track, you know, track not only in English. This was obviously a difficult one as someone who lives in a country with a lot of French-speaking bands and is Portuguese. But I didn't go for a Portuguese band. I didn't go for a French-speaking band. I went for a Russian-Flemish rapper. That's right, guys. So I went for Paranoia by Chibi Ishigo, and I discovered her approximately 2 months ago when she was in the news in Belgium because her face was beamed in Times Square, because Spotify have this playlist called Equal where they showcase female musicians, and she was the one that they were doing that. And I was like, what? A Flemish rapper beamed on Times Square that I haven't heard of? Must go and check her out immediately. And again, every single song of hers I've listened to I liked, despite, you know, again, hip-hop not being my thing. And this song, I don't even know how to classify it. I've put The Prodigy, seems like a clear influence. I've put, is it big beat rave trip rap? I don't know, but she creates a vibe. The video, it's her and some suitably disturbed young people writhing in a field, and she has very kind of deadpan delivery for most of it. And when it's over this kind of very beat, I think it works really well. And I like her accent. I'm intrigued to hear what you thought about listening to like a song in Flemish. And yeah, I went to look at the lyrics, and it's a bit stream of consciousness. It's about sin now, pray later, end the plan, I can handle temptation, wake up in time in order to prevent plans falling into the water, live now, pay later. Okay. Also, tense bags under the eyes and a hangover. All right.
I noticed that as well. So she's described herself as a rapper, because I just thought, I've not heard anything else. I couldn't tell if she was just delivering this track in a different vocal style.
At least on her website and by the press, yes, definitely.
So yes, I put down, this sounds like the KLF a lot
Yeah.
too much. I think it's
Really?
yeah. It sounds the synth sounds just like 3am Eternal a lot, and
Yeah.
obviously I'm a big fan of that rave, but unfortunately for me, it ran out of steam too fast. I think it's only 3.5 minutes, but after a minute and a half, I thought this hasn't changed. It seems
because of the beat being repetitive.
yeah,
right?
just the whole thing. Yeah, there's no need of something else. I think after a while, it's like okay, I enjoyed it for a minute. Otherwise, it's exciting. I quite enjoyed the video. I enjoyed the energy.
Then I guess you don't like her vocals enough to compensate for that, right? Because I just really like how for most of the song she's like because there's so much going on in the background. I like that contrast. I think of all the songs, I was like, I think this is one of the ones that he's really not gonna like. But you know, I want to introduce young Belgian rappers out there to the world. So
I went to Truck Festival this year, and in my pre-festival research, I came across an artist called Baby Queen, who's South African, but lives in London. She moved to London. I saw her live, and I stupidly saved it this year, so I thought it was from 2022. And when we had the foreign language, I knew that she does a verse in French, and I thought, this is my way of shoehorning a song in. Turns out it's from 2020, and I'm a fool. So with hours to spare, I had to quickly find a non-English song, and usually I follow a playlist called Ya 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 Ya, and usually there's at least one like Scandinavian band who sing in their own language, but unfortunately every single one sang in English.
This is what intrigued me, right? Because I was like, okay, as a Portuguese person living in Belgium, of course it's very easy for me to find, but I was like, I'm guessing you don't really follow French or Spanish speaking, because even like Stromae did a song with Camila Cabello this year that the New York Times voted as one of the best ones, where she even sings a verse. So it's in French, she sings a verse in English, and then sings the chorus in French with him, and she's from Cuba.
Yeah, and so I thought I could cheat, which I kind of did this for my option. So sometimes bigger bands do a version in the foreign language. The Arkells, who are Canadian, did a song with a French-speaking band, but it's the worst song on the album, so I don't want to use it.
Okay.
So then I then chose a song from Eurovision, the Portuguese entry. But since we've already spoken about that in a previous episode, I thought, well, that's a bit lazy. So I remember I quite like the song "The Funeral" by Youngblood. And I remember on Spotify, I noticed that he had done a French version of a song I had yet to hear. So I gave it a couple of listens. It's called Tissues. And it turns out I don't hate it. So...
And, well, there's a Cure sample.
Oh, so, I thought, okay, so we have Youngblood with, how to say her name, Luan, who turns out is apparently a fan of Youngblood, and she is a previous The Voice contestant.
I had never heard of her, but I did the same Wikipedia search that you did. Yeah.
So yeah, this is a perfectly adequate modern pop song about sadness, love, teen angst with Youngblood, who again is I think he's a bit of a dickhead, but he has written a couple of decent tracks. So with a heavy heart, I have put a Youngblood track on my compilation.
I think this is one of the ones I was the most shocked to see. If I was 20 years younger, I would be obsessed with Youngblood. He's exactly my kind of like enthusiastic, androgynous, like passionate political person that I would have been into. But I went for Radiohead instead of Youngblood when I was 15. But I have to say, I don't really like that many of his songs. I've heard a few, so he's not someone that I make a lot of time to listen to the music. But I don't know how. I saw that he'd done a French language version, so I was like, well, I'm going to check that out, even though he misleadingly doesn't sing in French. It's Luan who does. And when it started, I was like, well, this is Close to Me by The Cure. Like, you can literally hear it from the beginning, because it's like even the breathing and everything. I was like, what the fuck is he? And then I like immediately, I was like, credits? Okay, Robert Smith is credited. Okay, fine. But, it starts like that, but then it goes into something completely different, which I am, let's say, not such a fan of. But I think Luan makes this song. I prefer her voice and her melody line than his. I think their voices work really well together. But I've put that the melody and the bombast is a little bit too much for me.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't. Maybe he gave it a go, but he just couldn't pull off the Frenchness. Maybe, I can imagine.
I mean, yeah. I don't know. Like, if Robbie Williams can, why can't Youngblood?
Yeah, if Duran have done it, they've done songs in Portuguese.
Ash have done it. Come on, guys. Like, but yeah, I think sometimes people, especially if you come from a very monolingual country like the UK is, I think people are very, very insecure about speaking other languages. And like, as someone who speaks, let's say, 2 languages fluently and the rest badly, it's like, it doesn't really matter. Like, intention is everything. And as long as people understand what you're saying, it doesn't really matter if you get the grammar wrong or something like that. Just give it a go.
But yeah, for me, he does lean a bit too much on his influences. And like, the song I like, The Funeral, it's basically Billy Idol. And this, like I said, is basically The Cure. Maybe it was too similar, so you had to end up having to give away some of the credits.
Honestly, go and listen to it again from the beginning, and like, it is exactly close to me. And it comes, I think, in and out maybe in other sections, but I was like, because close to me starts with something, and I was like, what? Come on, like, don't take the piss, Dominic. Come on.
But yeah, it's perfect. It's a perfectly decent pop song. But yeah, moving on to your collaboration.
My collaboration. Well, you mentioned Scandinavia, and that is partially where we're heading. So I have picked Bliss by Young Lean and FKA Twigs, and I have mentioned this on a previous episode, and I mentioned it, and I was like, this might make the end of the list, and oh boy, look, it has. So, had you heard of Young Lean before?
No, I had heard of FKA Twigs.
You have heard of FKA Twigs. But yeah, I want to talk about Young Lean because I've long been fascinated by him, because he is also known as Sad Boy, and he is part of the Sad Boys Entertainment music collective from Stockholm, which is formed by him and this other guy called Young Good and other people.
Did you hear what their genre is called?
No, what is the genre called? Sad Boy music?
No, it's called cloud rap.
Oh, cloud rap. Oh, I like
cloud rap.
it. Oh, I don't mind it.
I have to Google what the fuck it meant.
Because it's seemingly like, ethereal, angelic, but also very internet. Like the clouds, in the clouds.
Yeah, it basically is like a lo-fi dreamy hip hop was what they describe it as.
I don't mind it, but I really like his side project Dodd Mark, which was one of James Acaster's 2016 picks, which he did this album in Swedish called Drabad Afsjukdom, which I'm probably pronouncing correctly. It's really, really experimental rock that he did with this rapper. But so that as an album, I really like, even though it's fucking weird and you have to be in the mood. For the rest of his songs, again, he's someone I dip in and out. And I've said that a lot this episode, and I think it's because I've quite deliberately kind of not picked artists that we've talked about before, or not picked artists that I hope we talk about in the future. So there's a lot of dipping in and out, but I do like all of these songs. I will just give that caveat. But this song is very different to the rap stuff that I'd heard before. It samples a Russian 80s new wave band called Alliance. The song is Nazare, and Fran, I really recommend going to check out the YouTube video of them performing it live, because it is proper 80s shit in Russian. And I think the sample is really well used. The video is absolutely chaotic, lo-fi. Did you watch the video?
Yeah, I was confused, because to me that was a council state in England.
It probably was. I mean, I know she's British, right? So
yeah, but he's Swedish. I thought, is that Sweden?
Yeah, I have no idea. But did you notice how at the beginning she's referencing that Kelly Rowland and Nelly music video that everyone always takes the piss of? So in that song, No Matter What I Do, she's on the phone texting Where Are You At, but she's on Excel. Like when you zoom in onto the phone on that video, it's literally she's not texting, she's writing on Excel. And FK Twigs does exactly that at the beginning in a reference to that, which is beautiful. And then the rest of the video, they're this kind of runaway couple in this very dingy car with this weird woman going to hotel room 654 or whatever it is. But this shouldn't work, and it does. He's very deadpan. Her vocals are high, they're low, they're totally different to his. She's sometimes whispering, sometimes screaming. I absolutely love this. I have a feeling you might not.
So, I can't listen to his mumbling rap. And that is rare.
That's difficult.
Yeah. So, yeah, FK Twigs vocal, great. So he's got an interesting vocal delivery. I really enjoyed the ascending, descending bass line for it. So if it's
that's a sample. That's a sample.
Oh yeah. Well, if it's her saying and if it's a sample, then I like it. But unfortunately, it's got Young Lean's rap I can't deal with. But I do enjoy a nice till sound.
Yes, it's a great sound, isn't it? Yeah.
And an instrument I'd like to play on stage one day. Although there's only 2 songs I can think of.
Yeah, Paper Planes being the other one, right? Yeah,
there
exactly.
we go.
Yeah.
So yeah, if there's a version with just her on it, then yeah, yes please. But unfortunately, I don't think cloud rap is going to be on my Spotify rap
on your playlist. I really think if you ever have the patience, go and listen to that weird side, because it's so different, and it's not. I mean, there's maybe kind of rapping, but there's weird fucking shit going on. It's one of James Acaster's 2016 picks. You know it's going to be weird. But yeah, I'm guessing you know FK Tix. What's your general vibe on her music?
I think she's been on a previous best of. So
okay.
yeah. So she I always give her a go because I know that she has some great moments. She's not really my perfect pleasure, but yeah, she does have moments that I do enjoy. So I always give her a go, and I'm happy that she appeared in this because it was my highlight.
Oh, okay, good. What's also amazing, I think similar to you, I dip in and out with her, but she's an amazing dancer. Like, she used to be a professional dancer.
Oh, okay.
So she famously, you can go check this out, she's in Price Tag by Jessie J.
Moving on to my collaboration. I mean, I had many I could have chosen from.
It was a difficult one, wasn't it?
Yeah, Roykstop almost made it in.
Oh, I do love a bit of Roykstop.
Yeah, but so I mean, this is not going to be fun. So I've gone from a party band, Elves, who are massive in Canada. They kind of were like more of an indie rock band, but it sounds kind of moved on. And then about 4 years ago, they brought on some like horns onto a track, which became a massive #1 hit in Canada. And unfortunately, when some bands hit a theme, they carry on down that road. So they have gone a bit too hornsy, a bit almost touching Imagine Dragons, Bruno Mars territory.
Oh dear.
But on each album, they do still have the old sounds sort of in there. And I will say, I see them live every time they come to UK because they are one of the best live bands you could ever see. And everyone I've ever forced to go have never known any song at all and have gone out sweating and been dancing all night. Like, they know how to get a party going. And also now they play arenas in Canada and they're playing like, 200 people in Brighton. So they can mingle with the crowd and they kind of like the interaction. So this is a collaboration with Cold War Kids out of the mid-noughties. And it's like, for me, it's like an 80s new wave anthem out of the Cars and Hall & Oates. It's got that sort of vibe. It's got a brilliant sliding guitar hook, and it just makes me want to dance around. And so I thought, fuck it, this is my party song of the playlist. So, did you party or did you cry?
I did somewhat party because you mentioned Arkansas before. Cold War Kids, I was like, I have a memory of them from the mid-noughties and not liking them, probably because they were twee, but that might be incorrect. But
nah, they were a bit more like a bit more like Hot Heat sort of.
Oh,
sound.
but I love Hot Heat.
Yeah, they were there. They weren't like a twee band at all.
Don't know why I had that idea.
They're very unexpected, to be honest. It was like on the album, it's mainly collaborations. I've got Tegan and Sarah and Lights. So I was like surprised to see Cold War Kids because I've not heard the name for years.
Are they Canadian as well?
I assume they must be. Yeah,
they must be. Yeah. So it started, and I really liked. I've written Sparks E since at the beginning. Then his voice comes in, and I was like, because it's a bit too clean. That's what I thought. And then this gruff guy comes in, and I was like, what the fuck is going on here? So I was like, I'm not really sure how I feel about this. And this is one where I was like, Jack Antonoff, ? But no, he's not here. Then on a re-listen, I enjoyed it way more. And I appreciated the difference between their two vocals much more. That was on the second time. And then on the third time, I watched it with a music video, and that took it to the next level for me. So the music video is really fun because it's basically the two of them singing karaoke to this song in a bar where the bartender also joins in at the end. I'm guessing he's maybe either a famous actor or a band.
Yeah. Right? No, he is. I think he's Saturday Night Live, and he's one of those gang.
Oh right, okay. Well, there we go. I was like, there must be some meaning here that I'm missing. And the lyrics hit me on the third listen, where the chorus is, "I'm sick of running from a past life. I don't care about the next one. Am I running from the moment or the city where I come from? Right now, I'm feeling like a stranger. Don't recognize the voice inside my head because I've been running from a past life. I want to live." Wow, like amazing lyrics about kind of obviously not sticking to the past. And again, like you, I'm not so much of a lyric person. I hadn't paid attention and it hit me. So, by the third, it's maybe not one that I've saved to my list, but it is definitely one that I wouldn't mind singing along to karaoke and boogieing on down with you. And I don't know if you saw some of the YouTube comments on the video, but Pains of Faust wrote, "I'm 45. I've just stopped drinking after 28 years. I'm 7 months sober, and this song reduces me to tears every time. I feel as though it was written for me." And this other guy, John R. Zaleski Jr., said, "WTG, what the God, I don't know. I totally relate. 30 years of active addiction, and today we have 981 days clean. Thank God we are living this life instead. Love you." And I was like, whoa, like, what emotions is this song?
He's a podcaster. I wonder if maybe he's mentioned the song and maybe it's about addiction, which is why the people are reaching out. I don't know, maybe it's because it seems odd that two people in a row would mention it.
Yeah, I mean, but that's it doesn't surprise me, because that's the point. It's like, it's not, you're clinging to the bad thing. You want to leave that life behind. Like, you want to live in the moment, and you want to forget about what's happened in the past. So yeah, I think if you've got an addiction, you constantly go back to these bad habits. Like, no, you want to get rid of that and live this life instead. Yeah, makes sense to me.
Well, there you go. He's one of the most charismatic frontmen I've ever.
I can believe that.
Met.
I can believe that.
And he's bloody lovely. Like during lockdown, he did my first ever Instagram live.
You did it? Hang on. You did an Instagram live
with him? Yeah. I didn't know that. I had to request a song, and he sang me live, and I sang with him. And
wow, do you have that saved somewhere?
No, I don't know. And then when I went to his second ever gig, my friend was going to come with me, didn't go because her father was dying, and he did a voicemail to her, and she saved. So he's just a really lovely guy.
Oh, that's really nice to hear. But clearly, it elicits a lot of positive emotions in people. So for that alone, but yeah, like I said, by the third listen, I was on board. But at the beginning, I will say, what I really don't like about the song are the repeated lines. That goes on for too long, where literally one of them is repeating the lines of it, and I'm like, stop it now. Like, I get what you're doing. I would halve that in the song. But I hope to boogie to the Arkells one day.
Cool.
Thanks for sticking it out till the end of part 1. We will be back next week with part 2 and 5 other categories of songs. If you would like to let us know what song you thought was the best of 2022, get in touch. We are at Overunderrated Music Pod on Instagram, at OU Music Pod on Twitter, and now we are also at Overunderrated Music Podcast on YouTube. We've been slowly adding our old episodes on there, so if you're someone who uses YouTube a lot and feel like listening to our old episodes, absolutely bloody go for it, mate. You can also email us overunderratedmusicpodcast@gmail.com. See you next week for part 2.